every report needs to be very well articulated, both in terms of messages, but messages need to be based on substantive data, and data need to be sources of figures and indicators that you need to persuade to reinforce the message. So look at this in this triad: messages, indicators necessary, and data. And working on this afternoon assignment was in fact last step in the preparation of your course assignments, which will be primarily tomorrow and submitting the data tomorrow. So I hope you had at least some time to work on this and discuss. It does not need to be comprehensive. Of course, we don't expect comprehensive things, but at least take some area, some range of indicators, and brainstorm how you could use it, and actually agree on what would be necessary in terms of possible data source, so that you make the best of those indicators. Don't panic. This is not about presenting the work of your group in the best possible ways. It's much more closer to brainstorming than learning exercise how to improve what you have, so that tomorrow really you have as close as the best possible paper as possible.
Okay, and that humbly reminds you what you're supposed to do. Each group is supposed to select one issue from their group assignments, one something big, and discuss what is the phenomenon you are researching. Second, how you measure it, and then in lesser extent how you evaluate and act. To do this, you're supposed to answer the question what and how we are measuring, why we are measuring. Also, you were required to be smart, use this. Well, use common sense and be smart, but also use this simple, specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound indicators, and also look on this input, output, outcome, impact. Okay. So now it's time for presentation. Group A already copied presentation. So who will be present for group A? Oh, we have space here. Come here.
Okay, as well known, our group is still with the issue of human capital transformation. That's why, from this point of view, we decided. It's another one. It's not
That's what I was given. No?
No. In our group we discussed to think from this emerging decision from the point of view of human capital transformation. This is the main task, and here are some factors, some parameters which are also they are not full, but they are one of the critical parameters from the human capital point of view, and very important factors which need to be considered when receiving transformation issues from human capital to social capital. And when discussing the importance of the issues, we decided to take one factor, one parameter, which is very important. And we think that without this, this is education part, and we think that without this education, no such transformation could exist also in regional level and also in individual level. In the point of view of utilizing the human capital skills and knowledges. So what we have done, and also just answer to these questions, what we are going to measure, and so now why we do measure this. So how it relates to the human capital issue. How we're going to, why we do want to this, we need to have some data and analyze the situation which is going around in this system, and also the comparison with the similar countries will give information about the issues and the gaps which exist. Also, this will give very efficient information about the employment opportunities and also about labor mismatch. In our opinion, one of the most important answer is a prerequisite for long-term winning strategy for human capital and social capital. It is the main task. That's why we took it. From the point of view of investing in education, this is vital because it is considered that also in developing countries, mostly in developed countries, that investing in education is one of the most long-term and effective decisions from the point of view of the government. Of course, in this point of view, we eliminated the migration factor in terms of foreign trade.
How to measure higher education? These are the few of the parameters which we have taken. One is ratio of people with secondary education, that is ratio of people who are opting for secondary education with respect to the total population in the region. Ratio of people who started and completed the higher education, which will also give us the dropout rate. Proportion of age group entering the higher education, because at times there are situations when we have adult people who are who are completing the same bar with us, but their age group is higher than us. A number of years of schooling. And this was the input, output, outcome and impact. Input is formal education, output is increased literacy level, outcome is increased skills, knowledge, better employment opportunities, and the impact would be accumulated human capital, better quality of life and better regional development.
Okay, I suggest let's
Good. Any comments? Questions? No comment? Yes, please.
On the quality. This is like
After human capital. For us.
Okay. Maybe after our presentation.
Okay. I like this YOE.
Yeah, great.
Okay, group B.
Hi everyone. The topic of our case study is youth and in times of austerity as a lost generation. The issue which we have highlighted here is the participation of youth in public policy decision making at national level. The baseline value means the value at the current circumstances which we want to analyze. And in order to analyze the current situation of participation rate of youth in public policy decision making is we will use existing surveys in this respect. We will be using monitoring the system, how youth participates, and we will take into consideration the reports of media organizations and observation. Observation is very critical in order to understand that if youth effectively participating and are they using their right to participate in decision-making process. The phenomenon here is that either the youth's voices are heard or not. So why youth's voice might not be heard? There can be three reasons for that. Either youth is not aware of its right to participate, or it has not access to participation, like it has no means how to participate in decision-making process, or they are not interested, they do not have any desire to participate in decision-making process. We have conducted some measures, how we can measure the participation of youth. My colleague will continue that.
Okay, thank you very much. We came from when we defined a phenomenon, so let's say situation, we came with certain measures which we defined like objective and subjective. By objective, we meant that these indicators or measurements can be extracted from the official statistics, and subjective measures, it is survey. So what we want to measure? We want to measure the level of participation of youth in public decision-making process on national level. How and what? We propose to use quantitative measurements and qualitative measurements. Quantitative measurements. We propose to use percentage of youth, which the voting age would actually vote. Percentage of youth active in local, regional, national councils. Percentage of youth affiliated to an NGO, CBO, and other youth groups. Percentage of youth who have access to internet. And also we were thinking about this, the last one, the number of bills passed by Parliament from the proposals from the youth. Okay, the number of bills who passed the Parliament from the whole number of proposals made by the youth. And why we use qualitative indicator? So this is like a situational analysis, but in fact, why, for example, the percentage of youth who vote is, let's say, 45%. But what does it mean? Why the rest of the people are not voting? That's why we offered to conduct a qualitative indicator in form of surveys and focus groups. They meant to be to use to measure why and awareness and to understand the desire of people, if they actually want to participate or they just simply don't want. They came from this, what Mikhail proposed, the steps, like phenomena, measurements, evaluation, and actions. So the next step is the evaluation. So we were thinking about an index, how to show if the participation of youth is low or big, or. But then we came to this scale from 1 to 4. So the first grade is that youth is not aware of role and responsibilities, do not exercise rights. The second, youth is aware of its role and responsibility, but does not exercise them. The third point, youth is aware of its role and responsibilities and partially exercise them. And the fourth one, the best one, youth is aware of its role and responsibilities and fully exercise them. And action. So in order to manage the issues, it needs to be first measured. So we decided to leave it like that because the results will be we will get from this indicator and from the survey, and then after that we will make a policy. Thank you for your attention.
Questions? We discuss all together.
Thank you for the presentation. It's wonderful. And can you please clarify one thing? How can we measure the percentage of youth active in the country?
Can you come back to the
So how can we measure their active behavior?
Can I?
Well,
Yes?
yeah.
We want to make a survey. We just ask, are you active?
I
Yes
say
or no?
no.
And then just contact number of those who said yes and those who said no. It's very easy.
I can say that I'm active, but someone else.
Well, I would say that.
Subjective.
Well, that's a disadvantage.
Yeah,
of
that's why we
surveys.
call
There will be other questions which will supplement that, like how many times do you visit the site, what do you do, have you ever polled? We cannot even ask direct questions, but indirectly there will be questions that will direct towards.
But there's a simpler way
Yes, please.
measuring that. We don't need to apply a survey with a number of questions. Active participation in the local regional national councils means participating in the meetings, because these are official forums with meeting minutes and recordings and memberships, and so basically it's a student representatives or any other, it's in one way or another recorded at these officials, so that's all hard to do.
Okay, let me very briefly comment on it because I think it's important to clarify. We should distinguish between status and perceptions data. Both status and perceptions can be registered through surveys. Those are different things. What you're suggesting actually is the measuring the perceptions. Do you feel active? Yes, I feel active. That's my perception. So the best way to go is to register the status and ask certain questions which will outline the level of the phenomenon. How many times per month do you participate? Did you vote or did you not care? So this type of things which register the facts and leave the interpretation. Does this fact suggest activity or high or low activity or involvement or non-involvement into the, and then this is a concluding interpretation. So this is a golden rule in data collection. So very clearly distinguish between the two and leave the interpretation not to the respondent but to the analyst. Unless you explicitly include in feelings and in perception, but this is a different thing. We're not talking about this.
Yeah, I agree with Andrei because the survey is supposed to complement our quantitative measures. Just maybe to check like a quality of.
Yes, but then you should formulate it more precisely that you are looking into the assessment of the feelings or the perception of the youth on their participation.
But you could contrast both.
Of course you could contrast both, but they should be kept separately.
I would like to add something small. It is United States American psychologist. I think his name is Brian Epstein or something like that, and he wrote a book on teenagers. Right? His question was, why these guys from 15 to 16, 17 go crazy, don't behave, and so on and so forth. And he had very simple test. He had a number of things. And he asked if you have been deprived of these things, like somebody told you what you should read, somebody told for what you could spend money, and so on and so forth. So it was something like 80 questions. Mm-hmm. And he ran this questionnaire on number of group of populations. What he found out, that average American teenager have many more deprivations in behavior, so somebody told him to do or not to do things, than American prisoner, guys who are sitting in the prison because of jail, prisoner because of misbehavior. So, and his argument that over control, over guiding teenagers resulting with all these problems. But that's one way how you could collect information, and again, it's factual information. You miss something, and then you could try to collect perceptual information. Do you feel disempowered because of something?
Okay. Yes, please. Can you speak up?
I would like to clarify something because we have a sort of misunderstanding. When you talk about COVID data, you talk about data. When you talk about survey, the focus group discussions, we talk about the tools, the instruments that are going to use to collect this data. So there are two different things. They should not be mixed.
I agree with this valid comment. Actually, are we commenting now because we're starting, or we left the first group without comments? Somehow we still this. I have. Okay, let me come back to this once we have the overall discussion, because I have a comment on the previous slide, but on the index. But maybe first let's give the opportunity to the third group, and then we'll come back to this. Can you keep the presentations so that we switch? All this has been done during the group work? That's called output.
Hi, good afternoon. We will now present Group C indicators. We've decided to focus on the quality of higher education, specifically on the ability to get a job. What Mikhail mentioned in his presentation was particularly appealing on in God we trust, all others need to bring data. Similarly, whenever high school graduates come to university, and whenever they come alone or whenever they come with their parents, the most important question they ask is, will we be able to get a job after we graduate from your university? That's the top question I get asked at my university where I work as well. So that's why we decided to make it specific by following the formula prescribed on SMART, yes, specific. And now let's talk about whether it's measurable. So we decided to look at the number of students who completed the higher education, including the issue of gender equality, seeing how many of these would be male graduates and how many would be female, as well as the number of students who got the job right after their graduation, and this should be the job according to their professional mistake. In other words, the students that were able to get a job according to the qualifications they were prepared for. Then the number of students who got the job in 1 year after graduation, again according to their profession. We also would like to have the following indicator, the number of students who got the job not according to their profession. And let me explain the difference because it's very important. There are some universities that are technical in terms of providing some concrete knowledge on a particular subject, and hence graduates would be expected to go with this technical knowledge and work in this field. But there are also a number of liberal arts colleges and universities emerging, one example being this American University of Central Asia in my country, where students might not necessarily go with the profession, like, I don't know, ICT, international relations, but might choose some other job. Yeah, the only thing that matters is skills they get. That's why we decided to have this indicator as well. Finally, number of people who did not graduate but got the job according to their qualification and skills, vocational skills. We believe it's also important because it can demonstrate whether the diploma per se is relevant and whether perhaps in this case the quality of education can be measured or not. Now I give the floor to you.
So why? We answer the why to reflect why higher education and specifically the quality of higher education. To reflect the labor market needs, to bridge the gap between the demand and supply of labor market, and to ensure that all graduate students got the job according to their professions or to their, how they were, what they studied at the university, to ensure sustainable educational development and quality of education. Because nowadays we have a huge number of students, but what we are looking especially for the quality and not the quantity of studies. So how we measure the quality of higher education? We took only the students, so we didn't take everything in education. The curriculum, we have to measure the quality of the curriculum and the quality of the teacher also. So it's a big work, so we took only the student. It's the outcome of education. So we make surveys for students, interviews also for students, alumni, employers who they got on job work. Official statistic from Ministries of Education and private university data as secondary data, because I know some private universities, they are not in contact with Ministries of Education, what is not the case in other countries. I would like to specify that our input was formal education, the output, the quality of education of students, outcome, it's the needs on the market. We took it from the economical side, what we need, how to prepare the student to get a job, and the impact is sustainable development of education. And what is the purpose of evaluating the quality of education is to arrive to an annual national report to evaluate higher education in a country. Thank you.
Thank you. Comments, questions? No comments or questions? Are we too tired already? Okay, I have, let me come back to the, do we have the presentation? Before we get to the previous, to the previous presentation, one question to the last group. I would very much, somehow this set of indicators and the entire process is nice but standing on its own. I'm missing the link to the context of your explicit topic of the assignment. Where is the...
It's economy. How we present children
austerity and so on. No?
During austerity, so it's
no, just was wondering where just. Anyway, I think it would be good if you look at this issues from this perspective. So how you use these indicators and the data which will be needed for helping you to make the assignment really database and indicator. Just there is one minor step, but you need to do this step.
Okay, my idea is austerity will not frame sustainable development.
Let's not discuss the concept. Let's not discuss the concept. This is the concept behind your idea, behind the lack of austerity presentation.
Your NDP will not, is still ongoing. So sustainability didn't stop.
Okay, you get what I mean. Can we go to the second presentation? You proposed an index with four components, no, 4 steps. Not participating, not interested, not aware of the role and not exercise the rights, aware but does not exercise, aware but partially, aware and fully. First of all, you will have problems with distinguishing between the third and the fourth component. How partial is partial, or how full is full. Don't enter into this. But what I think is even more important, there is a category which is missing aware of the roles and responsibilities, exercise them with no result. And then the ideal situation is aware, exercise, and achieve result. So,
we did this for idealists, pessimists in social inclusion.
yes, it's
Maybe you could explain
maybe
it a bit.
somehow intuitively.
Maybe you could explain it a bit.
Not now. Let's why I'm saying this? Because you otherwise it will be very detached from the orientation to real change. And ideally you will have to have already in the format of the index or whatever it is, and in the format of the data which will be feeding this index, you will need to have this purpose already embedded. Okay. That was my comment to this topic. The first presentation. We didn't discuss. Can you have any comments, questions on the first presentation? Yes? No comments?
About number of years of schooling, it's not related to higher education. To measure, we don't need this, I think.
But I have a more conceptual question: how you measure higher education? What you measure in higher education? It's like measuring nature. It's not measuring temperature. Temperature is a part of nature.
It has to be precise. For example, we measure the quality.
No.
It has been to
Yeah, exactly.
It must be precise.
Look, we have nature, right? In nature we have different elements which we could measure, but we cannot measure universe. We cannot measure nature. We cannot measure ocean. What is to measure ocean? We could measure temperature of the ocean. We could measure speed of ocean.
Let me put it in a different way, but slightly simplify, not metaphorical.
Not with Shrek.
You need to specify what do you measure in higher education. Is it the duration, the average duration of the higher education? Is it the share of people completing, share of people entering, average number of years people are spending in higher education? So there's a lot of things which mean. Can you go one slide earlier? Yes, this. When I was listening to you, why do you want to measure education and how it translates to human capital? Just one observation. A prerequisite for long-term winning strategy, individual capacity building, which translates into institutional capacity, and investing in education is a cost-effective and efficient. So those three statements, I don't think that they are sufficiently developed in terms of the purpose of the entire exercise, because you need to operationalize this premise for the winning strategy.
Let's return to ocean.
Now I'm getting into the ocean. Okay, I had something but I did not write it down, so I will. Okay, open the floor to the discussion. If I remember what I had in mind on this slide, I will come back to it. Questions, comments? No? I think we have enough for today. I'm the best indicator. I'm sure I will remember what I had in mind.